Outside the Box Reviews, Giant Monster Mania, we are taking a look at the NECA Pacific Rim Toys R Us exclusive Anteverse Gipsy Danger. Now this is a straight up repaint of the Reactor Blast Gipsy Danger we just got, but it makes complete sense to me. And I guess I'll refrain from spoilers here, but by the end of the movie, Gypsy's all torn up, and I felt that Reactor Blast figure pretty well captured the very end of the movie, but I think this captures that final scene with Gipsy really nicely. So, even though we already reviewed this one, more or less, let's take a closer look. Gipsy Danger comes with one of her chain swords, same one we've gotten before, but done in a really cool color scheme. It's metallic blue at the center and kind of comes into a purplish, reddish tint on the edges. It looks very cool, nice sculpt on this. It is a little warped, but I'm sure you could heat that up and make it work. It does have a peg here at the back, and we have a port just above her wrist here, and the blade will slide right in there and she's ready to fight. We also get another Reactor Blast effect, same coloration as last time. I wish it would have done something more in line with what Gipsy looks like here, but totally understand why you wanted to be fiery. I think this is what it looked like in the movie anyway, but looks very cool. I like the darker orange going into the lighter yellowy orange up here at the end. We have this piece in the back that's shaped like the reactor, and then it has the one little slot here. Then we have the peg on Gypsy's reactor. Just line those up, and we have a nice solid fit for the Reactor Blast. And before I get into the sculpt and paint, I just want to take a quick second to address something that comes up on every review of Gipsy Danger I've done. Somebody inevitably points out that it's weird that I refer to it as female, and that's for two reasons. One, I believe it is actually referenced as female in the film. There's the scene where they're doing repairs and they're pulling away the armor, and Mako says something along the lines of, "When was the last time you saw her heart?" And then also, just with any giant ship in like a naval fleet, it's usually referred to as female, so I'm just going with that. Now, I call this figure a repaint, but it's not exactly a repaint. It's actually molded in a blue translucent plastic, which is really cool. And even the paint apps put over top are slightly translucent, so light still gets through it. It's the same sculpt we've gotten before, but a damn good one. I love all the detailing here on the head. They did paint the head pretty much true to how it was in the film, minus the added purple detailings for the weird Anteverse effect. But we do have the kind of honeycomb looking gold visor and all the red and white trim on there. Coming down the chest, once again we get the great detailing on here we've had before. We have the reactor. Already mentioned this is the Reactor Blast version, so the reactor is a bit more deeper recessed in there, but I love the paint in there. The orange with the white lines coming out of it. We have all this cool red fiery explosion bits coming out around the core of Gipsy. We have the cuts in the armor still present. This one is covered up by the fiery paint, which I think works really well. Almost looks like the fire is coming out of there and all the little vents. So we see it kind of burning up here around the charred up arm. Now this arm is the same one we had before as well, with ripped up, but they did skimp out on the paint detail. The wires no longer have the yellow ends to them. This doesn't bug me so much because I feel like this is a very stylized version of Gipsy, and plus I guess the power probably would have been dead in the arm by then anyway. Coming around to the other side, you can see it goes from that purple and fades into the blue translucent plastic. Some more detailing down here at the hips that looks very nice. I just love the purple color they picked for this. We flip Gipsy around to the back and we can see straight up just the translucent plastic. They did still paint some of the lines on Gipsy. There's some black areas here with the spinal column. Interesting thing to note is the arm no longer has the 34 on it. The same arm sculpt we've had before, the big shoulder pad here. We do have a little yellow dot there in that mid-arm section, the part that does move to allow the articulation to come into play. Standard Gipsy arm. This is a little dirty looking. It looks like they did put some black paint wash. We got a yellow dot on the back of her fisted hand. Coming down the rest of the body, we've got the great pistons I love on this Gipsy 2.0 body. High upper parts of the leg. More trim lines painted on there. We do have the one knee pad that's all scarred up, while the other one's more pristine. And then we have the Gipsy Danger feet and all the cool mechanical detailing here in the back. We move up a little higher on Gypsy's back. You can see the pistons and things back here also lack any paint detailing. They're just flat black plastic. For articulation, it's pretty standard. Gipsy has a ball joint at the base of the neck. Of course, it's very hard to actually get into because her head's in that deep little groove there, but once you get it going, it works pretty well. On the damaged side, we do have a ball joint at the shoulders, so you can go forward and back out to the side. A ball joint on the good side as well, but it actually moves an arm. We can swivel at the upper bicep. We have a bend at the elbow. As I mentioned before, this little piece can slide out of the way to allow a fuller bend. We have a ball joint at the wrist, so you can swivel as well as move in and out with it. We have a mid-torso ball joint, so you can go a decent amount back, not very far forward, but also rotate a little bit side to side. The leg joints, so let us go forward, backwards, and a little out to the side. Swivel at the upper leg. Nice double jointed knee there. Ball joint at the foot, and a hinge at the toe. And here's Anteverse Gipsy next to the normal Reactor Blast Gipsy, so you can see completely different paint job, but beyond that, exactly the same figure. And here's my attempt at some artistic lighting to really bring out the translucent effect here on Gipsy. And it's a really cool figure that it looks very opaque and painted to begin with, but you hold it up to the light and it has some really nice translucent effects going on. And overall, I really like this repaint of Gipsy. It's definitely something a lot of people will probably pass on because it's a straight up repaint in some funky colors, but it looks completely different than every other Gipsy Danger I have sitting on my shelf. And by this point, I have quite a few. I really dig what NECA did here. I'm usually more resistant to their translucent figures, especially the colorized translucent figures that they do. I already know by this point they're not going to do any paint detailing on the back, though they did a little bit here. But just something about this crazy cool color scheme makes me really happy. And Del Toro has hinted that with Pacific Rim 2, the scene this figure's based on is going to be pretty significant to the new movie. So I'm thinking this is all the more reason to pick up this figure. And on the other hand, if you passed on the Reactor Blast Gipsy Danger, because it was just another Gipsy, this one might be different enough for you to want to pick it up. So a very solid recommend for Gipsy Danger here. Actually a lot stronger of a recommend than I would have anticipated before I actually opened the figure up and messed with it. It's really cool looking and just another great display piece from NECA. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also follow me on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been another Outside the Box Reviews, Giant Monster Mania. Stay tuned for more to come.